once you start talking.
My name is Pamela Nelson. I'm a visual artist. I live in Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas is where I've chosen to make my life, and I'm very glad to be part of this city. I got involved in this project from knowing Wendy Finn. I lived downtown for 23 years, and the First Presbyterian Church was across the street. I worked in the stew pot many years in the art program. And so Wendy helped me a lot. My husband was in Faith Presbyterian Hospice for many months, and she just came over and counseled with me. So I knew her. Her sister's an artist. It's just a web of connections, and she is one of the founders of the Faith and Grief Project, and for their 10-year anniversary they wanted to do something very special, and she asked me if I'd be interested. So that's how I got involved. And the River of Time came to me because I'm in a very small studio now. I moved from downtown, and I needed to do something that was modular, kind of like the AIDS quilt, that you could make something large out of smaller parts. And so I was given the material, which is it's not a neutral material. There's ribbons that all have names that people, their loved ones had died. And so I had those colors, and I had the materials. I guess there's about 5,000 names or something. And so I thought I would weave them into nets, or just because we're all woven together. The whole world is connected. So I just saw the spiritual connection there, and the nets are about 40 by 32, and I've just stacked them up, and they will be floating on cloth. So it's all textiles. The ribbons are textiles, the cloth is a textile. And I really, the River of Time, I think we have to surrender our loved ones to the River of Time. This installation will have a big waterfall that's in front of a 22-foot tall window, and the nets will be floating on that. The waterfall, to me, represents the acute grief. A lot of it from 2020, from the COVID, are just when you first lose your loved one, it is heartbreaking. It is very hard on you with that grief. And then as time goes on, it becomes kind of a river that goes around the corner, it meanders, it is still, it has rapids, it comes and goes. So the River of Time is kind of surrendering your loved one to that river, and the river surrenders itself to the ocean eventually. So it really is about a gentle, first of all, the waterfall's not gentle, but then the river becomes a gentle way to, just integrate your grief into your life. The process is, a very simple weave. It takes, about an hour to weave one of these nets, and I've had about 5 friends come in, Wendy was one of them, and weave a net, but most of them I've done myself. But I've touched every name and every ribbon, because the warp of the net is the ribbons I chose to coordinate with the ribbons that had names on them. And then the weft of the ribbon, I had to staple some together that were short and long, and that's the horizontal, weaving through the vertical ones. So it's just in and out, in and out. It's very honest. I use staples. I did get colored staples, so they're a little bit more intentional, but just they show, and it's just the ribbons are very random what comes next, and I think that's how death happens. It comes to us all, and it's very random. I don't know whether we all have a destiny when it's our day to die, or it's just totally random when somebody's lost. But the ribbons, I would just do a few. I could do maybe 2 nets in one day, but that was really hard to read all of them and kind of absorb all that love and all that grief. And so then I'd do my other work for a while. I've been working on this since March. And so I have about 77 ribbons, not about, but that's exactly, I counted the ribbons, but I didn't count the names really. I just have loved seeing all the energy that's gone into people. You know, they stopped by randomly at Clyde Warren Park and wrote a name of a loved one. So it's all just connected, like the trees and the moon and the animals and the people, and I just love the way it's all connected to each other. So that's my process. I do listen to music, and I try to make it a sacred space. I love Mozart. I love Fauré's Requiem. I listen to Leonard Cohen sometimes, and sometimes I just work in silence. But I try to make it kind of a special thing when I'm weaving. I'm on a kitchen counter with put a piece of foam core under the ribbons and just weave them like you did a pot holder in 5th grade. The ingredient is love for this whole project. Well, I've lived a long time, and I've been fortunate to keep being asked to do public art projects. I love the ones that involve places of healing, like a hospital or a church or a chapel. I'm working with UT Southwestern on a project right now. But this one is different. I've used different materials and where I design it, and then somebody does the glass work or the mosaics and the tile or the fabrication. And this is, my hands have touched all these ribbons. I think there's just kind of a benediction in handwork. And so I've touched them and they've touched me, and it's just a real personal thing that I feel connected to. And it's a community map of shared grief. I mean, we've all been in grief since this global pandemic. Then there's individual griefs of people that have just had other illnesses besides COVID, but it's just sharing that grief with the community. So the community brought me the materials, and I just put them together. I don't really feel like I initiated this. It was the community's grief that initiated it. I do believe that everything that happens in somebody's life influences their work. Anyway, I just think it can't help but do that. But I'm old enough. I've lost both of my parents. That's a big loss, and I've lost my husband, and he was sick a long time with progressive supranuclear palsy, which is a brain disease. It's a long road, and so I've had this personal connection myself to see how grief moves, and the river, the water is living water. It always moves, in a river, and so I just feel like that helped me kind of come to this solution for the installation. I do like that these are individual nets, and they're just floating on this very gentle satin cloth that's a river, and I think that they can be reused, they can be repurposed in a hospital or another location. I do think we're very fortunate to have the Crow Museum hosting this installation. The director, Amy Lewis Hoffman, is her mission for that museum is compassion. And so all faith, all compassion, just, I mean, this is really made out of love, you know? So I know my experience adds to other people's experience. The people that founded Faith and Grief had a lot of loss too. And so we all kind of know each other now. In public art, in the history of art, I mentioned the Vietnam, the AIDS quilt, but the Vietnam War Memorial by Maya Lin is a very good example of, in our time, of grief. But you know, before there's been so many sculptures and in Egypt, the tombs. There's been Van Gogh had a wonderful painting of a weeping man. And then you look at music. Requiems are just, go straight to your heart. They're about mourning the dead. And the Victorians took pictures of their loved ones as they were lying in state, and then wore black for a year. So there's been all these public art kind of expressions of grief through the ages. It's been pointed out to me that it's very important to say their names. And as one that, as a widow, I wanted to hear my husband's name. And so this is a project about names. These are all names of loved ones and people that are still loved, even though they're gone. So the names are, it's just woven names is really the project, The River of Time. This project has been a privilege to work on. It's been something that is a huge honor to be asked to do this. And I want to thank the founders of the Faith and Grief organization, all the members of their board and the people that work there, and especially Amy Lewis Hoffman for giving this space, this beautiful space of the Crow Museum that's free to the public, that people can come in the month of November and bring their families anytime they want to. And it's just, I just have nothing but gratitude for this project. Thank you.